Everyone's life has unforgettable moments, events that force us to face reality and grow up. I have experienced things that seemed impossible, things that have passed and can never return. If time could be turned back, I wish I had been strong enough to prevent all of those things from ever happening. That day, when my mother left the house, I quietly followed her with my eyes. I didn't pay much attention, just thinking that she was going to work like every other day. After breakfast, I started cleaning the house as usual. The space was silent, with only the soft sound of the broom sweeping the floor and the faint ticking of the wall clock. I was about to head to the bedroom to gather the laundry when suddenly, a rough hand grabbed my waist from behind. My whole body stiffened, my breath caught in my throat. It was my step-uncle. His grip was so tight that I couldn't move. The once familiar house suddenly felt cramped and suffocating to the point of fear. His breath was close to my ear, sending a chill down my spine. I tried to struggle, but he tightened his grip, not giving me a chance to escape. Fear rose inside me, along with a series of panicked questions ringing in my head. What is happening? Why is he doing this? Everything collapsed in an instant. And from that moment, my haunting story began. Hello everyone, my name is Sophia Carter, and I am 22 years old. I have lived with my mother since I was a child. My father passed away in an accident when I was very young. My mother, Lisa Carter, is a strong, independent, and resilient woman. She sacrificed a lot to raise me. Even though our lives weren't always easy, my mother's love was enough to make me feel safe. She taught me how to be independent, to face life storms with strength. I always believed that we only needed each other. But everything changed when I was 18 years old. That was when my mother told me she had met someone special. She wanted to take the relationship further. I was surprised. My mother had never shown interest in love after my father's passing. But this time she was different. She seemed happy, her eyes shining in a way I hadn't seen in years. She wanted me to meet this man, to officially welcome him as part of the family. The day I met him, I was stunned. His name was Aaron Mitchell. He was tall, well-dressed, and young, too young. If someone saw him from afar, they would never think he was my mother's lover. They would mistake him for my older brother or a friend. His deep brown eyes and attractive smile unsettled me. Why would someone like Aaron, young, charming, choose my mother, a woman over 40? Although my mother was still beautiful, the age difference made me feel uneasy. I asked her many times, why him? Could he have an ulterior motive? Every time my mother scolded me. Sophia, don't say that. Love has no limits. Aaron loves me for who I am, not for anything else. I tried to believe her. I really did. But I couldn't shake the uneasiness in my heart. Aaron always appeared kind, helpful, and responsible. He helped my mother with her small business, did house chores, and acted like the perfect partner. My mother adored him, but the way he looked at me was different. It wasn't the way a stepfather should look at his stepdaughter. At first, I told myself I was imagining things, that I was just overthinking. A few months later, my mother and Aaron got married. He officially became part of our family, but his presence changed everything. Family meals were no longer the same. There was a strange tension in the air, something I couldn't quite explain. But I didn't dare say anything. My mother was too happy, too in love. Deep down I wondered, does he truly love my mother? Or is there something behind that perfect smile? Over time I got used to his presence. I convinced myself that maybe I had been too judgmental. Maybe he really was a good man. Until that night. After a long, exhausting day at school, I walked into the bathroom to wash my face. The sound of running water calmed me. But when I lifted my head, I froze. Aaron was standing in the doorway. His eyes locked onto mine. My heart stopped. What are you doing here? My voice trembled, trying to stay calm. Aaron didn't answer. He stepped closer. And suddenly, he wrapped his arms around me from behind. A suffocating fear gripped me. Let me go. I screamed, struggling. But his grip was unyielding. Calm down, Sophia. I was just teasing, he whispered, his breath icy against my skin. I panicked, slamming my hands against the sink as hard as I could. The loud sound echoed through the bathroom. Finally, I broke free. I turned to look at him, my eyes filled with anger and fear. But he just smiled. You're so tense, Sophia. Don't overthink things, he said gently, as if nothing had happened. Then he walked away, leaving me there shaking. At that moment, everything in my home, the place I once felt safe, became terrifying. From that night on, I was never at peace. Every time I walked through the hallway, I felt his eyes on me. Even in my locked bedroom, I sensed his presence. Each night before bed, I checked my door twice, but the fear never left. I couldn't tell my mother. She wouldn't believe me. Aaron had completely won her trust. But I knew the truth. Aaron was not the man he pretended to be. I was trapped. And the nightmare was only beginning. The most terrifying day of my life arrived soon after. It was Saturday. I was home alone. And Aaron knew that. After Aaron left, he turned back and said, "Get some rest. If you need anything, just call me." I nodded, forcing a smile, but deep inside, I had an indescribable feeling. After finishing breakfast, I cleared the table and cleaned the kitchen a bit. The silence was so profound that I could hear my own footsteps on the floor. Sunlight filtered through the window, illuminating the familiar room. But today, it cast an eerie sense of alienation over everything. Once I was done, I decided to go back to my room and relax for a bit. I walked gently towards my bedroom door, reaching out to turn the doorknob when suddenly, a rough hand slipped around my waist from behind, gripping me tightly. I froze, my breath catching in my chest. The shock rendered me unable to react immediately. A deep voice murmured right next to my ear. "You're so cute, Sophia." My heart stopped. It was Aaron's voice. This time I could feel his hot breath against the back of my neck, sending a shiver down my spine. I struggled instinctively, trying to push his hand away. "Let me go," I screamed, my voice trembling with fear. But Aaron's grip only tightened, as if challenging my resistance. "I'm not doing anything. I just want to hold you for a bit." His voice was eerily calm, his words echoing in the silent space, drowning me in terror. I struggled harder, but my strength was no match for his. "What are you doing? Let me go." I screamed again, tears welling up in my eyes, my voice breaking with fear. But Aaron didn't respond. He leaned down, his breath lingering on my neck, making me shiver even more. "You don't have to be so nervous. I'm just joking," he said. But his tone was cold, ambiguous, devoid of any sense of humor. "I told you to stop." I pushed his arm away with all my might, but his grip was like a vice, trapping me in despair. Aaron's eyes darkened, flickering with a fierce and brazen intensity that sent a wave of terror through me. "You're so beautiful, Sophia," he whispered, his voice hissing through his teeth, each word like a knife stabbing straight into my mind. I froze, unable to believe what I was hearing. My voice trembled, almost choking. "What are you talking about? How could you? Don't you think about my mother?" Aaron didn't answer right away. He stared at me silently, his eyes dark, as if he were battling something within himself. Then a fierce glint flashed in his gaze, sending me into deeper panic. "Your mother? She's not the one I want." His words struck me like a death blow, nearly knocking the air out of me. I couldn't believe it. Someone like Aaron, someone my mother loved and trusted, was saying something so vile. He continued, his voice laced with both confession and desperate determination. "Just this once, Sophia. Let me just this once. I swear I won't hurt your mother. This will always be our secret." I fought against him, screaming in rage. "You bastard! What do you think you're doing?" But his strength, combined with the relentless ferocity of his actions, made it impossible for me to escape. His grip tightened, his breath nearly grazing the back of my neck, suffocating me. At that moment, everything blurred. I didn't understand why I couldn't resist anymore, as if all my strength had been drained by fear and disgust. Aaron's words, his eyes, his touch, all of them had crossed every boundary, shattering the lines I had desperately tried to maintain. The rest of the day felt like a nightmare I couldn't escape. I curled up in my room, too afraid to open the door or step outside. My emotions were a mess of shame, fear, guilt, and self-loathing. How could I let this happen? That question kept repeating in my mind, like a judgment I couldn't escape, like a sentence I couldn't forgive myself for. That evening, when my mother, Lisa Carter, came home, she walked into the living room with a bright smile, completely unaware of what had just happened. Seeing Aaron already home, she asked in surprise, "You're home early today? I thought you'd be busy until late." Aaron, as if nothing had happened, responded gently and calmly, I finished work early, so I came home early. I thought you'd be happy if we all had dinner together. I watched them from the corner, feeling suffocated and helpless. How could someone like him act so perfect and composed? He didn't seem to feel any guilt, not even a hint of fear. My mother suspected nothing. She smiled warmly and walked into the kitchen to prepare dinner. Meanwhile, I stood there, unable to take my eyes off Aaron. He wasn't just a liar. He was a monster. From that day on, everything changed. I could no longer look at Aaron the same way. Whenever he was near, my whole body froze with fear and disgust. His eyes, the same eyes that once pretended to be caring and kind, only made me shudder every time I met them. But my mother, the woman who loved him with all her heart, she didn't know. She didn't know at all. There were times when Aaron deliberately stood too close to me, his gaze lingering longer than usual. My mother ignored it, as if there was nothing to worry about. She was happy, too happy to realize that something was wrong. I wanted to speak up, to tell my mother the truth. But every time I opened my mouth, fear held me back. I was afraid. Afraid that my mother wouldn't believe me. That she would think I was making things up just to ruin her happiness. But most of all, I was afraid of hurting her. The following days became a series of nightmares. Every time I saw Aaron and my mother laughing together, my heart ached. I felt like I was betraying her by staying silent. But I didn't have the courage to face the truth. In the end, I decided I couldn't continue living in that house. One morning, while my mother was preparing breakfast in the kitchen, I walked in, trying to keep my voice as calm as possible. "Mom, I think I should move out. I want to be independent. I want to learn how to take care of myself." She was stunned, looking at me with surprise. "Why so suddenly? You always wanted to stay home with me." I lowered my head, avoiding her gaze. "I think it's time. I'm an adult now. I need to try living on my own." My mother seemed unhappy, but eventually she reluctantly agreed. She didn't understand the real reason I was leaving, and I didn't want her to know. When I stepped out of that house, I didn't feel as relieved as I had hoped. The pain still lingered, like a wound that refused to heal. But deep down, I knew I had no other choice. Distance was the only way I could protect myself from the horrible memories and Aaron's terrifying gaze. It wasn't an act of weakness as I had feared. It was a courageous step to save myself. What I learned. In life, silence may sometimes seem like the easiest way to avoid conflict, but it is never the real solution. I realized something important. No one has the right to violate your safety, your dignity, or your body. No matter who they are, no matter how much you love or trust them, they have no right to make you feel afraid or hurt. My silence only made things worse. It trapped me in loneliness and unnecessary guilt. I kept blaming myself, wondering if I had done something wrong. But no, it is never your fault when you become a victim. If you are in a similar situation, please remember this. Never stay silent. Seek help. Even if you think no one will understand your pain. You may be afraid to speak up. You may worry that no one will believe you. But silence only prolongs the pain and allows the abuse to continue. Tell someone you trust, a friend, a family member, a teacher, or a counselor. And if no one believes you, reach out to organizations or communities that can support you. There is always someone in this world who will listen and help you. Speaking up is not a weakness. It is an act of courage and strength. When you speak up, you are not only saving yourself, you may also be saving someone else from the same tragedy. An abuser will not stop at just one victim unless they are exposed and stopped. Trust your instincts. I also learned a valuable lesson. Trust your intuition. That uneasy feeling in your gut, that sense of doubt and fear. It is never meaningless. Don't dismiss the small signs. Don't convince yourself that you're just imagining things. Your instincts are often more accurate than you think. When an environment no longer feels safe, when someone makes you feel anxious and insecure, listen to yourself and protect yourself. Don't let the skepticism of others make you doubt your own feelings and perceptions. A message to parents and guardians. To parents and adults. Pay attention and listen to your children. Sometimes a small change in a child's behavior, an ambiguous statement, or a distant look may hide a much bigger problem. Don't be quick to dismiss their fears or concerns, thinking they're just being too sensitive or overreacting. Take the time to listen. Ask questions. Observe more. Your understanding and trust could be the lifeline that saves a child from suffering in silence. Final thoughts. Life is unpredictable. There will be moments that shake your trust, that break your heart, that make you question everything. But always remember, you are not alone. You deserve to live a life free from fear, free from pain, and full of happiness. Be strong when you need to. Speak up when you must. Find those who will help you. And never ever lose hope. We all have the right to protect ourselves. We all have the right to live without fear. Be brave, because you deserve it. Thank you for listening to my story. This story ends here. See you in the next videos. Goodbye.